New rules for this year's deer season.
Government misspending. I'm Dan Kampanen.
And I'm Hannah Schutzkis, and this is your Public Eye News. A Stevenson man was rushed to the Aurora Baycare Medical Center after the truck he was driving collided with a train. The crash occurred yesterday when the truck driver slid off an icy road and into a southbound train. He was ejected from his truck on impact, but was the only one injured in the crash. He is currently in the ICU at the medical center. Firearm deer season starts this Saturday, but this year's hunters in Michigan have to buy a base license before applying for a deer license. The Department of Natural Resources is selling the license for $11 and have stated that the purchase, quote, benefits hunting and conservation and habitat work for all species, end quote. The DNR is also offering an option to buy a single deer license, which would replace the archery and firearm licenses. Hunters are saying that this season may be challenging, as in the previous years, the harsh winters have impacted the deer population, and this recent snowstorm has made matters worse.
39-year-old Carl Allen Yeager has been arrested in connection with a string of burglaries in the Grand Marais area. Yeager was arrested on October 31st after investigation into at least 9 burglaries that have occurred since the 24th of October. All of the burglaries were discovered when seasonal homeowners returned to their properties. Yeager has been arraigned on multiple charges, including home invasion and breaking and entering. He is also being charged as a habitual offender and is being charged for trying to smuggle a controlled substance into jail. The Alger County Police believe that there are multiple suspects in this case, most likely a network of people trafficking stolen property. These stolen items include power tools, gold coins, and prescription pills, to name a few. The Alger County Police encourage people to contact them if they have any related information. The Michigan Judicial Tenure Committee filed a misconduct report on Wednesday against Judge Cedric Simpson on accusations of interference with a drunk driving case involving an intern. Simpson is accused of hampering an investigation when his intern and law student, Crystal Vegas, crashed into a truck in September of 2013. He's accused of going to the scene in Pittsfield Township and interfering with the sobriety test. Vargas did, however, plead guilty to operating a motor vehicle while impaired. The commission said Simpson denied having a personal relationship with Vargas, despite the two sharing over 10,000 texts and calls between August and November of 2013. The Michigan Supreme Court will determine if there will be a formal hearing.
A Michigan Republican has proposed legislation that will bar discrimination that is based on sexual orientation. Representative Frank Foster says he, quote, hopes the legislator adds protections for gays in Michigan's civil rights law by year's end, end quote. The law prohibits any discrimination in employment, housing, public accommodations, schools, and colleges. Gay rights advocates feel the legislation should protect transgender residents and oppose the decision made yesterday to not include gender identity in the bill. And another step for same-sex legislation, a Detroit federal judge has thrown out a state law that prohibits same-sex benefits for partners. The law was signed in 2011 by Governor Rick Snyder and bars public schools from offering benefits to unmarried partners of employees, whether homosexual or heterosexual. Judge David Lawson says the law is based on what he called an irrational prejudice and declared it unconstitutional yesterday. And stay tuned, because after the break we'll have your national and international news.
Coming up on Austin City Limits.
Tune in Saturday night at 11.
Welcome back. A government watchdog has reported that federally run schools for Native Americans have misspent millions of dollars, and in one case, $1.7 million was transferred to an offshore account, an apparent result of hacking. The report by the Government Accountability Office highlights lax government oversight of spending and other financial management problems. It calls the federal monitoring of spending at the schools weak. The Interior Department runs the over 180 schools, mostly on reservations, that service over 41,000 students in some of the more remote and poverty-stricken places in America. Agency officials say they concur with most of the GAO's recommendations, which include better monitoring of spending. A CBS News investigation proved that some survivors of sexual assault were left with hefty medical bills. Chris Van Cleve updates the story.
Today, I got my first bill.
Christine says she was sexually assaulted. After going to the hospital for a rape exam to collect forensic evidence, she was repeatedly billed.
Every time I would call, I'd have to go over everything and relive everything over and over and over again. And it was just, it was awful.
Federal law prohibits charging for a rape kit, but not related medical costs. CBS News contacted victim advocates in all 50 states. 13 report hearing about survivors receiving bills. Minnesota Senator Al Franken promised action, saying in a statement he's very troubled by what our investigation found. That's unacceptable, and I'll be looking into options to fix this problem. At least 2 other efforts by Franken to address the issue failed to pass Congress. For 10 months this year, Christine's bills kept coming, despite an Illinois law that says the state should have picked up the tab. You knew these bills weren't supposed to be coming.
Right.
But they kept coming.
Yep. I'd probably get one at least every month, if not more frequently than that.
Chicago-based rape victim advocate Sarah Layden helped Christine resolve her bills, which stemmed from a clerical error at the hospital. Why does it keep happening, do you think?
To me, failure to address it systemically within that hospital.
The hospital that treated Christine says it regrets its mistake and has implemented new protocols to ensure it never happens again. Chris Van Cleve, CBS News, New York.
U.S. lawmakers are moving to strip former Nazi war criminals of Social Security benefits. The legislation is being introduced today and comes after an investigation revealed millions of dollars in benefits have been paid to former Nazis who were forced out of the U.S. The bill will end benefits to an individual when they lose their American citizenship. Currently, the U.S. law requires a final order of deportation before these benefits can be terminated. European scientists are relieved this morning that their landing craft is safely on the surface of a comet, but appears to be just standing on 2 of its 3 feet. CBS's Charlie DeGatta has the latest from the Mission Control in Germany.
This is the first image ever to be taken on a comet's surface, and it confirms that the Philae craft landed successfully, but not without a hitch.
Apparently we bounced twice. There was one bigger jump and a smaller one, about 6 minutes. Now we are on the surface.
Scientists think the lander may have touched down in the shadow of a cliff, which could pose problems for its solar panels, which charge the lander's batteries.
The Rosetta spaceship lost contact with the probe, which was expected. Because the comet rotates once every 12 hours, if the landing craft is on the other side, scientists can't communicate with it.
But optimism here remains high a day after the European Space Agency made history. It was the culmination of a 20-year dream, the kind that takes a dedication that borders on the obsessive. One of the agency's top personnel, Matt Taylor, had the mission tattooed on his leg.
It's the excitement of these operational challenges. It's the journey that we've made.
Scientists have determined the probe is sitting on a rocky surface, but they're hoping it will take samples of the comet, which could reveal secrets about the origins of life on Earth. Charlie Daggett, CBS News, Darmstadt, Germany.
Barack Obama says Myanmar's move towards democracy is real, but remains incomplete on the eve of his second trip to the region. Myanmar's President Thein Sein will host Obama in his opulent palace in the city's remote capital. Obama plans to discuss the political and economic reforms that were promised from his last visit. Obama said he discussed with Sein the need for next year's elections to be fair, inclusive, and transparent. He also raised the need for Muslims in the Rakhine region to have their rights respected. Myanmar's president is acknowledging in his meeting with Obama that the country needs time to enact reforms, but he says the country will continue to try to enact its reforms. And stay tuned, because after the break we will have your weather and sports.
Next time on PBS Arts, the performance documentary Hitmakers.
They're just constantly in search of something new and exciting.
The story of how the music industry survived to become what it is today.
People are so much more in control now than the gatekeepers that have always been in place. People are choosing what they want to listen to.
Next time on PBS Arts, Hitmakers.
Friday evening at 9 on Public TV 13.
Welcome back to Public Eye News. I'm Hao Kong with your weather. As you can see outside the Economic Mall right now, different story from the last 2 days. It is not snowing out there. So definitely great news for everybody in Marquette. Let's look at your current conditions. Currently right now it is snowing 30 degrees here in Marquette. Winds coming out of the northwest at 15 miles per hour, and the barometric pressure is at 30.07 and dropping. Tonight we're going to have snow showers with a low of 21 degrees. Winds coming out of the northwest at 10 miles an hour. Tomorrow, we're going to have partly cloudy skies with a high of 31, winds coming out of the west-northwest at 10 miles an hour. Looking around the UP, currently right now is 27 in Sault Ste. Marie, 27 in Massapequa, 29 in Escanaba, 28 in Menominee, 26 in Iron Mountain, 25 in Ironwood, 28 in Holton, and back here in Marquette is 30 degrees. Let's look ahead to your future forecasts. On Saturday, we're going to have a high of 26 with a low of 14 and mostly sunny skies. Sunday, we're going to have a high of 26, low of 13 with partly cloudy skies. Monday, we're going to have a high of 26 and a low of 15 with snow showers. So definitely looking rough out there for the weekend, but I hear things are rough for the Detroit Pistons, aren't they?
That's right. The Pistons have lost 3 games in a row. The Detroit Pistons lost in a comeback effort from the Washington Wizards yesterday. Wizards point guard John Wall led his team to victory with 32 points and 10 assists and hit 13 of his 16 free throws. As for the Pistons, they were in control most of the first half with huge contributions from point guard Brandon Jennings and shooting guard Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Jennings earned a double-double with 32 points and 10 assists, while Pope put up 20 points. But it wasn't enough for the Pistons, who fell apart after halftime and eventually lost the game 107-103. This was Detroit's 3rd loss in a row to give them a record of 2-6. The Pistons will attempt to bounce back tomorrow night against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Boxing fans are one step closer to getting the big-ticket fight they've been waiting for. Current welterweight title holder Manny Pacquiao stated in an interview to prepare for an upcoming fight that he is willing to fight undefeated boxing superstar Floyd Mayweather Jr. Pacquiao said, quote, "I do have one specific goal, and that is to give the boxing fans the fight they've always asked for. I want that fight with Floyd Mayweather Jr. too," end quote. Both sides have seemingly been avoiding the fight, but as of late, it's looking like the fight may happen. Mayweather finally made a statement about the fight after being very discreet up until this point, saying, quote, "If it happens, it happens. Hopefully it's next." As of now, Pacquiao is preparing for his title defense against Chris Algieri, which will happen November 22nd. The Miami Dolphins will take on the Buffalo Bills tonight for Thursday Night Football. Both teams are on the hunt for a spot in the postseason. Miami and Buffalo both share a winning record of 5-4 and are tied for the second spot in the AFC East. Buffalo is coming off of a loss against the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Miami Dolphins are also trying to get back on track after a loss to our Detroit Lions. The Bills are the NFL leader in sacks, so expect a good game from their defense. The Dolphins will look to quarterback Ryan Tannehill to run the show, who posted 207 yards and a touchdown against the Lions on Sunday. Thursday Night Football starts tonight at 8:30. So, Dan, you have a story about a brush with death?
I do. The city that never sleeps is a city with a little bit more fear in it today. Talk about being left hanging. 2 window washers had a close call yesterday on the nation's tallest building, the World Trade Center 1. A cable malfunctioned and left the scaffold dangling 69 stories above the street. The window washers were left dangling for over 2 hours before firefighters could use diamond-tipped saws to cut through the glass and rescue the harness workers. Other than being a little chilly, the workers were okay. My gosh, that has got to be scary. 69 stories above New York City.
Definitely talking about hanging out. I wouldn't want to be hanging out. I mean, like that.
I bet they were cleaning their pants too after that scare.
Oh man, I could only assume so.
A new pair of pants probably.
A new pair of pants and maybe a little bit of hazard pay for the job. But that's all the time we have for you today here at Public Eye News. Be sure to tune in again tomorrow.
The preceding program was produced in studios located in the Edgar L. Hardin Learning Resources Center by WNMU-TV, Northern Michigan University Public Television.